guess really my question here is, what do you think? You should sell your guitar, your pedal, your amp, if ... and leave your comment below if you've got kind of a bit of rationale for some of this stuff. We're going to talk about the idea of clutter, talk about how that can be like a negative thing in a room full of clutter right now, and then talk about some of the other things that we maybe need to think about. Don't need to think about, it's something to talk about on a Saturday, isn't it?
This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
Okay, one of the things that I've figured out for me is that buying gear was not actually related to like the amount of disposable income I had, and that I was probably buying things that I didn't really need. If you looked around this room at the moment, it's in a bit of a state of clutter and a bit of a state of what is going on, like a bomb has hit it or something less insensitive. I looked up the meaning of the word clutter: a crowded or confused mass or collection, or strew or amass objects in a disorderly manner. To chatter or babble, that makes sense to me. So I wanted to talk about in this video why selling some of your gear, or for me personally, has been really beneficial, but also scientifically not a bad idea. So I saw this thing come up in my Instagram feed about how clutter can actually affect your mood, affect your focus, affect your sleep, stress, eating, weight, procrastination, I guess creativity and stuff like that. And something that makes me think about like the ultimate with this is kind of looking at like the desk space of someone who's just set up a new desk and put things in the right place. Like in some ways it's kind of like, well, yeah, that's inviting, versus what I'm currently at right now where my whole room is just covered in stuff. This kind of made me think about like what maybe we should think about or me personally, about what is the reason for having some of this gear and stuff like that. I was chatting to Chris from up the road, who let me borrow his 2-Rock TS1, and he was talking about, you know, like it must be, you know, difficult to come up with. You need to have like a constant churn of gear to be able to talk about stuff like that, and it's definitely part of the thing. But also, I guess talking about buying and selling gear is also part of the thing anyway. So one of the things that I've kind of realized for me is that my collection doesn't really have any organization or any real through line to most of it. So for a time there was like, I thought I want a load of Mesa Boogie amps, and then that in my amp collection at least was like a bit of a through line, right? It was like, it's got a Mesa Boogie badge on it. It kind of fulfills some sort of collector status. But then there's another point which, for me, I have to be actually using the gear, otherwise it doesn't make sense for me to keep it in my mind. Like, I'm not collecting this stuff with it in mind that one day it'll be worth more money or anything like that. So yes, there was a through line, but I wasn't using the amps, and so now I don't regret actually selling any of those Mesa Boogie amps. I've had, you know, probably about 15, 20 over the last 10 years. There is one amp that I regret selling. I'm going to do a video on that at some other stage. And then with the guitars, so I don't know if you're aware of this, but if you demo guitars, it's very rare that you're going to be demoing guitars that are super expensive. You know, the sort of companies that are going to ask you to demo this stuff and are going to, you know, sponsor videos are kind of at the cheaper end of the market, whether it's Jet or Sire or, not that Sire have ever paid me, but, you know, people are generally not in the business of sending out like $4,000 guitars, whatever. I was just having a chat with PRS yesterday, and it's like, you can loan this gear, but to make money off of a, you know, gear channel and stuff like that, you have to have like an eclectic kind of range of stuff. As someone who's kind of got more into the sort of demo side of stuff now that I have no integrity and a baby. So what that also meant was that, like, now my collection is like a mixture of things, like my K-line guitars, which are the things that I play all the time, but also like cheaper stuff which I don't see as much value in, and that maybe is just in the house because I demoed it at some point or another. So that's another thing that's kind of confused the collection. Then we got, like, if you look at pedals and stuff like that, luckily with pedals, basically all I have generally is like drive pedals. You might have seen I did a video recently where I don't have a modulation pedal, but that at least is like a through line for my pedal collection, where it's like, well, it's mostly going to be just drives. I don't have like compressors. I don't have like surplus delay pedals. I mean, I really don't have many pedals at all anymore compared to what I used to have, and that's reassuring to me, because again, to fulfill my kind of reason for being in the house, it needs to be something that I use quite often. So pedals sitting there never being used, to me, seems like a waste of time. Whereas the things that I reach for all the time, like the Ibanez SD9 or the Boss Blues driver, are kind of my go-to pedals if I want to demo an amp with a drive, and then the other stuff is on my board. I don't know if any of you guys have like a feeling about this. Like, I guess some of you are going to be like me in that you have like a bedroom in a house where you can put some of your gear, or maybe a corner of a house. How do you do this one in, one out thing? Or do you have like an actual system or a way of organizing your collection? So you could think, I don't know, like maybe Fenders and Gibsons are going to be the thing that I just have, and then anything that's not a Fender or Gibson I kind of get rid of. Or do you go with like the stuff that you play and then you say one in, one out? I'd love to know some of your thoughts about how you get away from this, because I think I think most of you guys watching this are going to be at the age where you can afford some gear sometimes. You know, buying like £100 pedal or something like that might not be a big deal, and then you buy it and then you think, all right, well, that's just an extra thing. Or like another amp. And I now have 6 amps in the house. Only 2 of them are actually mine. Oh, well, there's a Katana there as well. But, you know, because I'm like demoing stuff, now the house is filling back up with amps. It's giving me again that feeling like, well, this was organised a while back. Scientifically, apparently, according to studies, this could be affecting things like your mood, could be affecting your creativity. So it's something I need to deal with. Yeah, so I'm not shy anymore, I don't think, about just selling the pieces of gear that I don't have that kind of connection with. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have you been one of these guys like me? Like I had a load of stuff and actually found, right, I want some space is what I want, not loads more stuff. Yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts. Like I see like Sonic Drive Studios with rack after rack of amp, or you know, like channels where you have lots of guitars along the back, and I think, I don't think that suits me. I think 3 guitars just on my stand over here suits me quite nicely. And other than that, I kind of want to pare things back again. I think I've just ended up with a lot of stuff again.